For 2,000 years, the world believed that Cleopatra VII fled the Battle of Actium in fear. But what if her escape was actually part of a plan? 31 BC. The Ionian Sea, off the coast of Greece. Over 600 warships clash in the fiercest naval battle of the ancient world. On one side, Antony and Cleopatra. A king and queen bound by love and power. They have 500 ships, and an army of 100,000 fighters. On the other side, Octavian. The cold, brilliant young man. The legitimate commander of Rome's armies. He has only 400 ships. Logically, Antony and Cleopatra should have won. They have more ships, more soldiers, and more experience. But within a few hours, Antony's fleet completely collapsed. Cleopatra fled, leaving her soldiers to their fate. And history has accused her of cowardice for 2,000 years. I'm Lord. In this episode, we will uncover the real secret behind Cleopatra's escape. Not cowardice, as Roman history tells you, but betrayal. A brilliant plan that failed at the last moment. And a closer look at the battle that turns the story upside down. Let's go back a bit. Rome after the murder of Julius Caesar in 44 BC. Rome was splitting in two. In the first corner, Mark Antony. The legendary general, Caesar's closest friend. He fought in all of Caesar's wars. After Caesar's death, he became master of the Roman East, Egypt, Syria, Greece, and Turkey. In the other corner, Octavian. A young man, only 19 years old, but Caesar's adopted son. A young man with no military experience. But he's intelligent and cunning. And Roman soldiers love him because he is Caesar's heir. For 10 years, there was an uneasy peace between the two sides. Antony ruled the east from Alexandria. Octavian ruled the west from Rome. But the fatal mistake was when Antony left his lawful wife, Octavia, Octavian's sister, to marry Cleopatra. Octavian considered this a personal insult. And he used it as a pretext for war. The Roman account says, Cleopatra was a sorceress who used love to possess Antony, stole Rome's money, and threatened to turn Rome into an Egyptian colony. But the truth is, the war was economic. Octavian needed the wealth of the East, Egypt's gold and grain, to pay his army. And Cleopatra wanted to expand her kingdom northward. Antony was caught between both their ambitions. Let's look at the balance of power before the battle. It seems Antony and Cleopatra are superior in everything. Number of ships, Antony 500, Octavian 400. Number of soldiers, Antony 100,000, Octavian 80,000. Combat experience, in Antony's favor. But the secret was in the type of ships. Antony built massive, giant ships. Each ship carried around 400 men, rowers and soldiers combined, plus stone-throwing catapults. His ships were like floating fortresses. Octavian relied on small, fast ships called Liburnians. His ships were lighter and faster. They carried only 30 to 50 soldiers each. But their speed was their weapon. Before the battle, Cleopatra's advisors gave her one piece of advice: don't go to sea. Octavian has you blockaded by land. His army is huge. Cut off his supplies until he is forced to surrender. But Antony refused. He wanted a quick, decisive battle. He believed his massive ships were invincible. And that was the beginning of the disaster. Dawn of September 2nd, 31 BC. Antony sails out with 400 ships, the other 100 in reserve. He exits the narrow Gulf of Actium into the open sea. But his enormous ships couldn't maneuver in the shallow waters near the coast. He was forced to exit in a single, long line. Octavian's small ships were waiting for them outside. The Battle of Actium was unlike any other naval battle. Octavian didn't use catapults or archers much. He used a clever tactic: don't ram the big ships. Surround them. 2 or 3 of his small ships would encircle one large ship. The small ships fired flaming arrows at the sails of the large ships. Fire spreads. The lower oars clash. Soldiers panic. Commanders lose control. Within 2 hours, Antony's fleet turned into chaos. 30 massive ships were sunk or burned. Thousands of his soldiers jumped into the sea to escape the fire. And suddenly, something happened that no one expected. Cleopatra ordered her 60 ships, the Egyptian royal fleet, to raise sails and flee south. Immediately. Without coordinating with Antony. Antony saw her ship leaving. He thought she was afraid and had fled. He abandoned everything. Jumped into a fast ship and ordered it to pursue Cleopatra. Leaving his army and fleet to face their fate. Without their commander, the fleet completely collapsed. A week later, the land army surrendered without a fight. The battle was over. Antony and Cleopatra's dreams were over. This is the story everyone knows. Cleopatra the coward fled. Antony the weakling followed his lover and abandoned his army. Octavian the genius won. But what if I told you that Cleopatra's escape may have been planned from the start? And what if she wasn't afraid, but was executing Plan B? Here is the truth that changes everything. No ancient Roman source was present inside Cleopatra's war council. Every account we have, Plutarch and Dio Cassius, was written over 100 years after the battle. By Romans. For Romans. So when they call her a coward, we have to ask, whose interests did that story serve? Military historians have long noted a strange detail. Cleopatra did not flee randomly. Her 60 ships did not scatter in panic. They moved together. In formation. South. Directly toward Egypt. That is not the behavior of a terrified queen. That is the behavior of a commander executing a disciplined retreat. Look at the numbers. Cleopatra lost only 5 of her 60 ships. Her Egyptian soldiers, nearly all survived. If she had stayed, she would have lost everything alongside Antony. By withdrawing, she saved what could be saved. But Antony didn't know this plan. Cleopatra hadn't told him. He thought she was betraying him. So he followed her in anger and abandoned his army. And that was the fatal mistake. If Antony had stayed, he might have regrouped. After the battle, Cleopatra met Antony in Alexandria. Later ancient sources claim she confronted him and said, "If you had stayed, you could have saved your army. Now we have lost everything because of your anger." After Actium, Octavian gave them no chance. He headed immediately to Egypt. By land and sea. He captured the city of Alexandria with little resistance. Antony, betrayed by his troops and abandoned by his allies, fell into depression. On August 1, 30 BC, a false rumor spread that Cleopatra had committed suicide. So he stabbed himself with his sword. Cleopatra lived for 12 days after his death. She tried to negotiate with Octavian for her children. But she learned Octavian intended to drag her in his triumphal parade in Rome, public humiliation. So she chose to die a queen, not a captive. The story says she poisoned herself with the bite of an Egyptian cobra. Some historians believe the poison was hidden in a hollow hairpin or a secret ointment. Death came quickly. Octavian found her dead on her throne. He was furious. Then he buried her next to Antony. Egypt, an independent kingdom for 3,000 years, became an ordinary Roman province. Octavian returned to Rome victorious. He changed his name to Augustus Caesar and became the first Roman emperor. And the Roman Empire as we know it began that day. The Battle of Actium ended. But the battle over the narrative never ended. Everything we know about Cleopatra comes from Roman writings. Plutarch, Suetonius, Dio Cassius. All Romans. All wrote 100 years after her death. All were loyal to Octavian. The narratives call her a sorceress, a whore, and a traitor because she used Antony to serve her own goals. But what if Antony was the one who used her? Even her origin is debated. She was of the Greek Macedonian Ptolemaic dynasty. Her ancestors were Greek, not Egyptian. But she adopted Egyptian culture to win the loyalty of the people. The question I will leave for you in the comments: do you think Cleopatra was a brilliant heroine trying to save her kingdom, or a reckless mistress who lost everything because of her love for Antony? If you made it this far, it means you love the truth behind the legend. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. Next episode, we'll dig into another secrets of the Pharaoh's Wars, the Battle of Megiddo, the first battle recorded in detail.